we are taking the time right now to declare a few teams dead. Now, before I go any further, I want you guys to understand something. Declaring teams dead means they're not going to make the playoffs, right? And in some cases, surprising, some cases it's not. The teams we're going to spend time talking about are teams that had playoff aspirations and are no longer going to get there, right? So there's let's see. In the National League, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that are dead. In the American League, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams that are dead. It's 11 teams that are dead. Going through the National League quickly, and the teams we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about because they weren't expected to be good. The Rockies are dead. Season's over. R.I.P. to the Rockies. Washington Nationals, R.I.P., but it was never going to be that good of a year. Pittsburgh Pirates started off hot. Things are looking good. Organization's trending in a great direction, but rest in peace to the Pirates in 2023. In the American League, Oakland A's, nothing to say. R.I.P. Kansas City Royals, same thing. Chicago White Sox, R.I.P. Tough look. Organization not looking great for the future. Detroit Tigers, R.I.P. Right? So there's, what is that, 7, 8 teams that it's like, it is what it is. You weren't going to get in, maybe you had some pop weeks this year. Maybe things are looking good, but ultimately it's fine, right? If I'm a Rockies fan, Nationals fan, Pirates fan, I'm like, all right, we're not in. We were never going to be in. It's fine. But I'm declaring them dead. So all those teams are dead. Now, next on my list are some teams that are serious heartbreaks. Okay. First team, I'm declaring R.I.P. dead in 2023 with serious playoff aspirations. St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals are dead. There's nothing there for the Cardinals. They're 40-53, and they are that team this year of all those disappointing teams that we'll get to. They're that team that's truly and has consistently found different, unique ways to lose games. They are just finding deep, dark crevices of how can we lose, right? Not to mention the luck, right? Luck is such a hard, it's a hard thing to quantify, but you can definitely see it. You can see, jam shot hits dropping in. You can see pass balls. You can see other teams making diving plays against you. And everything for the Cardinals that could have gone wrong for them so far, in games, has gone wrong. They've gotten production from Goldie, from Arenado, from their younger guys. Wilson Contreras didn't really start off great. Then you've had some drama with Tyler O'Neill, and he got benched. And then Wilson Contreras gets booted from the catcher position, but then now he's back. Just a lot of bad juju with the Cardinals this year. And then you compound that with underperformance and bad timing and some luck going against you. And here we are before the end of July, and I'm declaring the Cardinals dead. The Cardinals are dead. So rest in peace to the Cardinals in 2023. Doesn't mean they can't come back next year and be good, but the Cardinals are dead, way gone. There's nothing left for them. Oh, the NL Central's bad. I have no doubt. In my mind. If the Cardinals played, if they went into in the NL Central, they went into Cincinnati or hosted the Reds or the Brewers, the two teams at the top of the NL Central. If they went to Cincinnati and had a 3-game set, there's no doubt in my mind that game 1 would be tight. The Cardinals would have a lead. Bullpen would come in, give up 2 runs, 1 run in the 8th, 1 run in the 9th. They'd go to extras. And then in the top of the 10th, the Cardinals would have a runner on second to start the inning. They would pop up a bunt. They would hit a single, first and third, and then they would ground into a double play to end the inning. And in the bottom of the 10th, the first batter for the Reds would hit a line drive up the middle, and they'd win the game. And then the second game against the Reds, the Cardinals and Reds, the Reds would beat them 15-2. Then the third game, it would be 4-1. Cardinals come out flat. That's just how it goes. That's just how it's been all year. So Cardinals fans, I'm sorry, but you're dead. We'll see you next year. But for this year, adios. Up next, number 2 on my list, teams declared dead in 2023. The New York Mets. The New York Mets in 2023 are dead and gone. It's over. I'm sorry, Mets fans, but it's over. minus 12 run differential, 43 and 50 through through 93 games, 43 and 50. Poor offensive production, career lows, and for a number of different guys. Verlander starts the year hurt. Scherzer doesn't look good. You're spending $80 million on two pitchers. Both are 40 years old. Lindor's been meh. Pete Alonso, career lows in a lot of offensive categories. Jeff McNeil forgot how to play baseball. Mark Canha, bleh. Prospects called up, but not getting enough playing time consistently. Brett Beatty, not great. The bright spots for the Mets have been Francisco Alvarez and Tommy Pham. That's been the big bright spots for the Mets, the number one payroll in baseball. I mean, they are paying a ton of dudes a ton of money. But the same story goes for the Mets as it does for these other teams that appear to be struggling with big payrolls. They spent a lot of money on a handful of guys, and the main indicator for success in today's game of baseball that the Mets do not have is legitimate depth. Like legitimate. I mean, they're rolling out lineups right now in July that feature DJ Stewart and Mark Canha and Luis Guillorme all in the same. I mean, you're 8.5 back of a playoff spot, and you got to line up with those three guys in there at the same time. Mets fans, you're dead. Like, don't even waste your time like getting upset about anything the rest of the year. Yeah, it's super disappointing that you had the number one payroll and the highest payroll of all time, and you're gonna miss the playoffs. But you gotta find a way to salvage this current winning window. You might need to trade away Max Scherzer and get a decent prospect haul in return. You might need to shop Tommy Pham around, see who wants him, and go from there. But the Mets, you're dead. Season's over. I'm sorry. It's done. I mean, this is the same thing I'll say about this next team that we're going to talk about here. But just like watch the Mets play. Just watch the Mets games. I know it sounds a lot like some of these other Mets fans that go ballistic and lose their mind. And it's hard to quantify, definitely in a lot of ways. But there's like no energy. There's no fight. These guys don't battle when they get in the box. Just like so brutal to watch. These guys just go up and just punch out on 4 pitches. They just like first inning comes around. They're just like 1, 2, 3. Oh, Mets didn't score. Okay. Like there's just like nothing there. There's like no like electricity. There's no sparks in that lineup. It's just, these guys are just like almost going through the motions 1 through 9. And there's not many guys in that clubhouse in that lineup that are going to be the throwing chairs across the locker room guys. And honestly, a lot of times that doesn't work. And in a team and an organization like the Mets, like you shouldn't have to get to that point when you have the number one payroll by far in baseball. You shouldn't have to get to a point where you're having team meetings or you're throwing shit around the dugout or in the clubhouse or you're fighting, you're doing whatever. Shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. And for the Mets, they don't have that. There's nothing there with that team, at least this season. So try to ship off a guy like Scherzer, try to ship off Tommy Pham, whoever else you want to shop around, get a couple prospects, cut these payroll salary guys, off, stop spending so much. Just relax, but it's over. It's over for 2023. I'm sorry, Mets fans. Number 3 team I am declaring dead in 2023 with playoff aspirations, the Padres. Breaks my heart. It does. It breaks my heart to declare these guys dead. I'm a diehard. I'm a live and die. I watched every game this year. Continue to support these guys. Huge expectations. Number 3 payroll. And as we sit here towards the end of July, these guys are dead. I mean, very similar to the Mets in a lot of ways. Huge payroll, paying a handful of guys each a ton of money and getting limited contributions from them. And then combine that with career lows from some other guys that were supposed to be low payroll, high contributors. Mix in some injuries, mix in Xander Bogaerts playing hurt, Machado playing hurt, no Tatis for the first month, relying heavily on the bullpen in the first half, ending up coming to bite you in the second half because that's not sustainable. Now you're looking at a spot where if they don't trade Blake Snell and Josh Hader at the deadline and get a good sizable return, now we're talking about like these guys might be in a deep, big hole for like the next 5, 6, 7 years. But if they're able to retool, they're able to pick up some guys. If they ship off Snell and Hader, now we're looking okay, right? Now we're looking fine. Still got Juan Soto for another year. That guy's a little bit overrated if you ask me, but hey, that might cause some issues. So whatever, he's fine. He's an all-star. He's fine. But the Padres are dead. They are dead in 2023. Again, very similar to the Mets. No depth. I mean, guys go down, guys get hurt. Starting pitching gets hurt. They call up just really just bad players. Bad players. There's no depth in the Padres farm system. They've traded everybody away. And the guys they have called up have just not been very good for them. And that's okay. You don't expect every single prospect to come up and all be all-stars, but it's a numbers game with prospects. You have to call up 4, 5, 6 guys to get one all-star out of it. That's just like how it works. But when you call up like 1 or 2 guys that are top prospects and then they don't perform, it's just like compounds on itself. Injuries, bullpen falls apart. Now you're looking at 8 games back. You're looking at 6 games under 500, and they're dead. They're going to miss the playoffs. It's going to be almost as disappointing as the Mets, but still a really disappointing year for that organization. And it hurts to say, but again, it's similar to the Mets, very, very similar to the Mets with those non-quantifiable contributional pieces of baseball, right? Things that contribute to a team's success that are hard to quantify. Things like, two-strike approach or putting guys away on the pitching side, right? Getting to 2 strikes and finishing them off. Things like approach with runners in scoring position. Now you can quantify those things in some areas, right? Because like, for example, the Padres have the 30th ranked batting average with runners in scoring position. So you could say like, oh, it's they're selfish or whatever. Like, yeah, and like some of that's probably true, but it's just like overall, it's the same as the Mets in terms of like, there's just nothing there. There's just nothing there. There's no like getting in the box and like just sticking your nose in there and just like under no circumstances am I going to strike out here with a guy on second and no outs. There's none of that. It's the opposite. It's like, I'm going to try to yank this thing out of the yard. If I punch out, I punch out, man. I don't know. I'm getting paid. Like, that's kind of how it feels for the Padres. And then they punch out. They're like, man, yeah, that sucks. Like, there's just like nothing there. Like, you go down to Atlanta, they get a leadoff double. The first thought in my head is like, how quickly is this guy going to score? I mean, he's going to score. If not this at bat, he'll score in this inning. There's no way this leadoff double is not going to score. With the Padres, it's like leadoff double, strikeout, ground out to second, and then fly ball to center field. The guy doesn't score. And you're kind of like, whatever. Whatever. It is what it is. That's a Padres bad luck. It is, No. There's nothing there. The Padres, they're pretty lackadaisical, complacent in a lot of ways. Combine that with poor roster construction, there's no depth. And this is where you find yourself. 44 and 50. You find yourself 8 games back after the All-Star break, and in my opinion, dead and out of the playoff race. So Padres, R.I.P. 2 more teams to get to here, and then we will wrap it up. Number 4 team for me, dead as a doornail out of the 2023 postseason, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Trout's hurt, Rendon's hurt, Ohtani's not playing hurt, but like as far as pitching goes, he's got this blister, fingernail deal. He won't be as effective. A lot of the other guys have just been not as good as in past years. Taylor Ward has cooled off substantially. Hunter Renfroe is not the same guy that he was on the Red Sox in the past years. Tyler Anderson as a starter, hasn't been good. They've had a couple of bright spots, a couple of guys called up. Zach Neto, they put him at short as a prospect, calling him up. Hasn't been amazing, has been whatever. And then it's like Ohtani's getting traded, is he not? It's just, and it's also like it's the Angels, last night. Or a series against the Houston Astros is a perfect example. 2 teams in 2 completely different spots. Maybe roster construction and talent level wise, maybe they're about the same. Difference is the Astros know how to win. Astros have a 2-strike approach. Astros are above average analytically and in preparation areas. The Angels are not. And Ohtani hits a home run. Angels score 8 runs and they lose 9-8. I mean, that's the Angels in a nutshell. And at 2 games under 500, the American League is so much better than them as a whole. You look at They're 6 games out of a wild card spot. Doesn't seem, out of the realm of possibility for them to get into the postseason. But look at the teams in the AL wildcard spots right now: Baltimore, Toronto, and Houston. I mean, they're not going to overtake Houston. They're not. They're not going to overtake the Blue Jays, and they're definitely not overtaking the Baltimore Orioles. And the Rangers win the West. So Angels, you're dead. You're done. Your season's over. If it was the opposite, if they were 48 and 46 instead of 46 and 48, they were 2 games over 500. They wouldn't be dead. They'd be flirting with it, but they're done. I mean, Angels are done. They're not going to trade Ohtani, and that's going to make it worse for them. But yeah, R.I.P. to the Angels in 2023. You guys are dead. Last team I'll talk about here before we wrap it up, and in that same division, you may know where I'm going. You may not know where I'm going. Seattle Mariners. Seattle Mariners are dead in 2023. Now, it might be early to say that. They're at 500. They're only 5 games out. Ryan, what are you thinking? They're fine. They're right there. I watched from start to finish 2 of their 3 games this weekend against the Detroit Tigers. The Mariners are like really boring to watch. Like, there's like none of that 2022 magic, like the fight, like the like 9th inning comebacks and J-Rod and JP Crawford. Like, there's just like none of that at all. I mean, Julio is definitely a spark plug for them. He's a guy that's like, if he goes, they go. And this year, J-Rod hasn't gone, so the Mariners haven't gone. They're hovering around 500. But again, you look at the teams above them in the standings and in the playoff positions, in their division specifically. Rangers are way better. They're never going to get caught by the Mariners. Like, the Mariners are never going to catch the Rangers. And then the Astros. And the Mariners are never going to catch the Astros. They are never going to catch the Astros. Blue Jays are in the wild card spot, and the Orioles are in the wild card spot. The Mariners are not going to catch those teams. Watch those other teams play in the playoff positions. Watch the Orioles in the first wild card spot, the Blue Jays and the Astros all holding wild card spots, and then watch the Mariners play. I mean, it is a night and day difference. And the Mariners just lost 2 out of 3 to the Detroit Tigers at home, coming out of the All-Star break where they just hosted the All-Star game. Like, you would think the energy from those guys coming out of that All-Star break is just like, dude, we are about to roll. And they dropped the first 2 to the Tigers. You know who would not do that in that situation? The Astros, the Blue Jays, the Orioles, or in the division leaders, the Rangers, the Twins, or Tampa Bay. None of those 6 teams do that. And the Mariners do. I don't hate on the Mariners. I think they're dead. I think they're dead. I think didn't get the contributions they were hoping to get. J-Rod, France isn't an all-star anymore. JP Crawford's not an all-star anymore. Oscar Hernandez, a guy that they signed for big bucks, who was pretty good in Toronto, having a bad year. Wrap that all together, we're gonna miss the playoffs. R.I.P. to the Mariners. R.I.P. Ducks. I'm sorry, guys. I like the Mariners. I hope they're good every year. They're done. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry.